Hi, this is Rich Powell from ClearPath. At ClearPath, we are very excited that President Trump has started taking action to restore the quorum at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. That's FERC. So why does an organization like ClearPath, that is really concerned about conservative clean energy, care about there being a quorum at FERC? Well, FERC is really important in our space. They govern what are called the wholesale electricity markets. That's where about 2/3 of the electrons bought and sold in this country are transacted. The process through which those things are bought and sold is called price formation. So that's how we determine how much producers of electricity are actually paid in the markets. Now, these wholesale markets are, we call them deregulated markets, but in fact, they're only partially deregulated. There are still a lot of price controls and other structures in place that make these markets not function quite like real markets. And these price controls effectively depress the wholesale cost of electricity, in some cases by as much as 20%. So that sounds like it should be a good thing, right? I mean, cheaper electricity should be better, right? Well, price controls actually cause a lot of distortions and problems, especially if you care about clean energy. At ClearPath, we want a diverse marketplace of clean energy options. And if that's what you care about, there's nothing more important than nuclear. Nuclear supplies about 60% of all the clean energy currently produced in the United States. It runs 24/7. It can do that for months on end. It's reliable and it's economic. In fact, until very recently, nuclear plants were highly profitable. They're reasonably cheap to run, and wholesale power prices were pretty high. But in the last decade, wholesale power prices have dropped by as much as 70%. That's a combination of the shale gas revolution, which has meant that really cheap gas fuel has flooded into the market, and it's made it much cheaper to generate electricity using gas turbines. There's also a result of the wind PTC. So that's highly subsidized renewable energy that's also causing some market distortions. So imagine you're a nuclear operator. It costs the same amount to run your plants as it did a decade ago, but now your revenues are down 70%. And in fact, as many as 10% of all the nuclear reactors in the country are slated for early retirement because they're now in the red. So let's get back to FERC. What can FERC do about this? Well, remember that price formation process with all the price controls. FERC is already undergoing a process of reviewing its price formation practices and trying to remove some of those price controls. But it's less than halfway done with that process. Because it hasn't had a quorum, that process has been frozen in place, and some of the most important price controls haven't yet been addressed. Now that we can get FERC back to a quorum, hopefully we'll be able to finish this review of price formation and get the markets back on track and working again and supporting our vital nuclear plants. I realized that was really nerdy. Thanks very much for listening. Bye for now.